From burnt toast smells after spacewalks to sweet cosmic clouds, space has a flavor palette that's surprisingly rich. Join us as we explore the unexpected tastes astronauts encounter in the cosmos and the science behind these space flavors. Back in the early days of space exploration, astronauts started noticing something strange when they returned from spacewalks. Their spacesuits had an odd smell, like burnt metal or charred steak. This got them wondering, what does space actually taste like? It might sound like a weird question, but it sparked a fascinating scientific journey. The first person to really bring attention to this was astronaut Donald Pettit, who described the smell as a mix of gunpowder and seared steak. Other astronauts backed up his observation, adding that sometimes they could even taste these flavors when they came back inside. This curiosity about space's flavor opened up a whole new area of space research that nobody had thought about before. Let's talk about that famous burnt toast smell that astronauts notice after spacewalks. When they return to their spacecraft and remove their suits, they're hit with an unusual scent that's been described as a mix of burnt metal, barbecued steak, and hot breaks. Scientists think this smell comes from high-energy particles in space called atomic oxygen that stick to the spacesuits. These particles react with the suit's outer layer, creating this distinct aroma. What's really cool is that while space itself has no smell because it's a vacuum, these particles give us a hint of what's floating around up there. Some astronauts say they can even taste it, a slightly metallic, smoky flavor that lingers in their mouths after they've been outside. Here's something that sounds unbelievable. There's a giant cloud in space that tastes like raspberries and rum. The Sagittarius B2 gas cloud, located near the center of our galaxy, contains ethyl formate, the same chemical that gives raspberries their flavor and creates rum's distinct smell. This massive cloud spans 150 light years and is packed with billions of liters of alcohol and other organic molecules. But before you start dreaming of a cosmic cocktail party, remember that this cloud also contains lots of dangerous chemicals like propyl cyanide. Scientists discovered this flavor connection in 2009 using radio astronomy, which lets them identify different chemicals in space by studying their unique signatures. It's a perfect example of how the same basic chemicals that make up things on Earth exist throughout the universe. Living in space does strange things to your sense of taste. When astronauts float in zero gravity, fluid shifts toward their heads, making them feel stuffed up, like having a constant cold. This affects their taste buds in a big way, dulling their sense of taste by about 30%. That's why space food often needs extra seasoning. The lack of gravity also changes how smells travel to their noses, which is a huge part of how we taste food. NASA has worked hard to solve this problem, creating foods with stronger flavors and even developing special spice blends for space missions. Some astronauts say spicy foods become their favorites because these intense flavors are easier to taste. They've also noticed that their taste preferences can change dramatically during their missions. Let's dive into the sweet chemistry of space. Scientists have found some amazing molecules floating around in stellar nurseries, the places where new stars are born. These areas contain sugar molecules like glycolaldehyde, which is a basic form of sugar. Think of stellar nurseries as giant cosmic kitchens where chemical ingredients mix together. In places like the Rho Ophiuchi cloud, researchers have spotted ethylene glycol, the same substance that makes antifreeze sweet, though definitely don't taste that on Earth. Using powerful radio telescopes, astronomers have also found familiar molecules like vinegar, alcohol, and even the chemical that gives vanilla its flavor. These discoveries show us that the basic building blocks for sweet and tasty things aren't just Earth exclusive, they're scattered throughout space, helping us understand how life's essential chemicals might form naturally in the cosmos. When astronauts share their space experiences, the stories about tastes and smells are fascinating. Chris Hadfield once described the International Space Station's scent as a mix of metal, antiseptic, and garbage. Not exactly appetizing. Scott Kelly mentioned how everything started tasting like cardboard after a few months in space, while Sandra Magnus became obsessed with spicy food because it was one of the few things she could properly taste. Some astronauts report that their favorite Earth foods taste completely different in orbit. Mike Massimino swears that cola tastes flatter in space, while Peggy Whitson found herself craving foods she never liked on Earth. Even the station itself has its own unique smell. Many describe it as a combination of new car smell, gunpowder, and hospital cleaner. Ever wondered why a juicy steak tastes different in space? On the International Space Station, astronauts face a unique dining challenge. The lack of gravity makes blood rush to their heads, causing nasal congestion that dulls their sense of taste, similar to eating with a bad cold. But there's more to this space food puzzle. The space station's recycled air and constant hum of equipment also affect how aromas travel to their noses. Since about 80% of what we taste actually comes from smell, this creates a big problem. NASA's food scientists have tackled this by pumping up the seasoning in space meals. What might taste too strong on Earth is just right in orbit. They've even created special hot sauce blends that have become astronaut favorites. Let's explore one of space's sweetest discoveries: actual sugar molecules found in meteorites. In 2019, scientists found simple sugars hidden inside ancient space rocks that landed on Earth. These weren't just any sugars, but ribose, a crucial building block of life as we know it. The meteorites, some older than our solar system, contained these sugars in tiny amounts, but enough to prove they came from space and weren't Earth contamination. This discovery was huge because it showed that the ingredients for life could form naturally in space. The sugar molecules were probably created when the meteorites' parent asteroids were still young, as radiation and simple chemicals combined in just the right way. It's like finding the recipe card for life scattered across the cosmos. Space presents a unique challenge when it comes to flavor molecules. In the harsh environment of space, radiation from the sun breaks down chemical compounds, while the vacuum can cause molecules to behave differently than they do on Earth. When food is exposed to space radiation, it can change the structure of flavor molecules, making them less stable. That's why space food needs special packaging. Without it, cosmic rays would gradually break down the food's taste compounds. The vacuum of space also affects how molecules move and interact. On Earth, air pressure helps push flavor molecules into our taste buds and nose receptors. But in space's near vacuum, these molecules don't travel the same way, which partly explains why astronauts experience taste differently. Temperature swings in space can also change how flavor compounds behave, sometimes making food taste more bland or completely different. The future of food on Mars is going to be a mix of science and creativity. Mars colonists will likely start with a mix of pre-packaged meals and fresh vegetables grown in special greenhouses. These greenhouses will use Mars's soil, called regolith, which scientists are already learning to turn into good growing dirt. The first Martian meals might include potatoes, lettuce, and tomatoes, plants that are relatively easy to grow and pack lots of nutrients. But there's a catch. Mars's gravity is only about 38% of Earth's, which could change how plants grow and even how food tastes. The lower pressure and different atmosphere might also affect cooking. Water will boil at a lower temperature, so cooking times and methods will need adjusting. Colonists might even develop new Martian recipes using local resources, creating a unique red planet cuisine. Thanks for joining us on this flavorful journey through space. From burnt toast to cosmic raspberries, the universe is full of surprising tastes. If you enjoyed this taste of space science, hit like, subscribe, and share with your fellow space enthusiasts.